There are moments in connection where language stops being communication and becomes seduction. Not seduction in the physical sense, but the kind that lingers in the corners of her thoughts long after the conversation ends. You see, every woman carries within her a secret desire not just to be wanted, but to be understood. And when you whisper the right words, at the right moment, you don't just touch her ears, you enter her imagination. The power of emotional language lies in its ability to bypass logic and speak directly to the subconscious, the place where feelings, memories, and desires live. When you use words that evoke emotion rather than explanation, you enter the deeper layer of human connection where attraction is formed. For a woman, emotional language is not just about what is said, but how it makes her feel. It's the difference between saying you're beautiful and saying there's something about the way you carry yourself that draws me in every time. The first is a compliment, the second is an experience. Words that awaken emotion create a psychological imprint, a moment she feels rather than hears, and that feeling becomes a mental anchor she returns to again and again. When a man understands this, he realizes that emotional connection is not about choosing poetic words, but about aligning his tone, energy, and authenticity with what he says. Emotional language has rhythm, it breathes, pauses, and creates tension and release. It gives meaning to silence and weight to words. Women naturally respond to emotional depth because it mirrors their inner world, the world of feeling and intuition. A woman doesn't just listen with her ears, she listens with her entire being. She listens for sincerity, for subtle cues of safety and intensity, for the emotional truth behind the words. When those words touch her emotionally, they bypass her defenses and awaken her imagination. This is why emotional language has such power in relationships. It transforms ordinary conversations into magnetic exchanges. When a man speaks from emotional awareness, he becomes unpredictable in the most captivating way. His words stop sounding rehearsed or manipulative, they sound alive. They invite curiosity. They create the feeling of being seen, desired, and understood all at once. That emotional resonance lingers long after the words fade because the mind can forget sentences, but it cannot forget emotions. Emotional language also creates polarity, it balances strength and softness, confidence and vulnerability. It gives a woman permission to open up, to mirror that depth, to trust that the space between them is safe for truth. In this space, the right three words can carry more weight than 1,000 explanations. They can unlock emotional intimacy, spark desire, and forge a bond that logic cannot undo. Because emotion is not something we control, it's something we experience. And when words evoke that experience, they don't just communicate affection, they create it. Understanding the female mind's connection between words, feelings, and imagination is essential to truly captivating her attention and emotions. Unlike men, who often process communication in a more linear and solution-oriented way, women experience language as a bridge between emotion and imagination. Words don't just carry meaning for her, they create images, sensations, and emotional states. When you speak to a woman, she's not only hearing what you say but also feeling what it represents. Every word paints a picture in her mind, every tone creates an emotional vibration, and every pause leaves space for her imagination to fill in the blanks. This is why the way you speak to her can either build deep emotional tension or dissolve it instantly. Her mind connects words to emotion in a deeply layered way. For her, language is not a tool for transaction but a pathway to connection. A simple phrase like "I miss you" can mean 1,000 things depending on how it's said. If it's spoken with genuine warmth, she feels it in her chest. If it's rushed or careless, it loses its power. The female psyche is wired to seek emotional truth in communication, to sense authenticity beneath the surface. When words carry emotional integrity, they resonate with her imagination, and that resonance transforms ordinary conversation into something intimate and memorable. The imagination is where attraction truly begins for a woman. It's not the physical touch that first captivates her, it's the way your words make her feel touched, seen, desired. Through emotional language, you awaken her inner world. She starts to picture what you're describing, to feel what you're feeling, to live inside the emotional atmosphere your words create. The female mind doesn't separate thought from emotion, it experiences them together as one continuous stream. When you speak in a way that engages both, you create a profound sense of emotional intimacy. The secret lies in subtlety. Women are naturally intuitive, often reading tone and subtext more accurately than the words themselves. When your language carries a balance of mystery and sincerity, her imagination becomes active. She begins to think about you even when you're not around because her mind is replaying the emotion you evoked. This is why emotional connection through words can be so powerful. It's not about controlling how she thinks but about awakening how she feels. And once her imagination links your words to a specific emotional experience, that connection becomes unforgettable, a living echo she returns to again and again without even realizing it. There is a profound difference between speaking to her and speaking into her. Speaking to her is about communication, transferring information, expressing thoughts, or making conversation. Speaking into her is something entirely different. It's about emotional penetration, resonance, and creating a deep internal response that lingers. When you speak into her, you bypass the surface of her intellect and reach the place where her emotions live. You don't just use words to describe, you use them to evoke. You speak in a way that doesn't demand attention but naturally draws it, because it feels authentic, present, and emotionally grounded. Most men focus on being heard, but few understand the art of making a woman feel heard. When she feels that your words touch something real inside her, she becomes drawn to you, not because of what you said, but because of how deeply you made her feel understood. Speaking into her requires presence, the kind of presence that listens as much as it speaks. It's about tuning into her energy, her tone, the pauses between her words, and responding not just with intellect but with emotional sensitivity. When you speak from that space, your words carry weight, even when they are few. You begin to speak her emotional language, one that values feeling over logic and connection over persuasion. Women are deeply attuned to emotional authenticity. They sense when your words come from truth or from performance. When she feels your sincerity, she relaxes into the moment, letting her guard down because she feels seen, not analyzed. This depth of communication transforms the dynamic between you. It shifts from a verbal exchange to a felt experience. She's not evaluating your words anymore, she's absorbing them. They begin to move through her like music, stirring emotions that logic can't explain. This is the essence of emotional resonance, when your words align with your presence, tone, and intention so perfectly that they create a physical and emotional response in her body. It's what makes a conversation unforgettable and what turns a fleeting moment into a lasting memory. When a man learns to speak into a woman rather than at her, he stops trying to impress and starts to connect. His silence becomes meaningful, his words become rare but powerful, and his energy begins to communicate more than his speech ever could. It's not about saying what she wants to hear but about saying what she feels to be true. And in that space of emotional truth, connection becomes effortless, intimacy becomes natural, and attraction becomes inevitable. Authentic presence is what transforms ordinary words into unforgettable experiences. It's the invisible quality that gives your communication life, depth, and emotional gravity. When you speak with authentic presence, your words stop being rehearsed lines and start carrying the vibration of truth. Presence is not about performance or confidence, it's about being fully there emotionally, mentally, and energetically. It's when you are not distracted by how you look, what she's thinking, or what outcome you want. Instead, you are immersed in the moment, feeling every word as you say it, aware of the energy between you, not just the exchange of words. When you bring this kind of awareness into communication, the woman in front of you feels it instantly. She senses your groundedness, your stillness, your depth. She feels that you are not trying to convince her of anything, you're simply revealing yourself, and that truth draws her closer without effort. Presence changes the emotional texture of interaction. A man who is present doesn't rush. He pauses. He listens. He allows space for silence without anxiety. In that silence, a woman's imagination awakens. She begins to feel seen in ways words alone could never achieve. Authentic presence tells her something that speech cannot, that she's safe to open, that she's being met with genuine attention. This safety is what allows attraction to deepen because presence communicates something primal. I'm here with you. That simple emotional signal can do more than any line or compliment ever could. It's what creates the magnetic pull that makes her remember your voice, your gaze, and your energy long after the moment has passed. When presence merges with language, even the simplest phrases become potent. Words like "I understand" or "I see you" gain emotional weight because they come from stillness, not from strategy. A woman can tell the difference between a man who is speaking from his head and one who is speaking from his being. The former feels transactional, the latter feels timeless. True presence also requires vulnerability, the willingness to be fully yourself without hiding behind charm, confidence, or cleverness. It's about letting her experience your sincerity, your imperfections, and your quiet strength all at once. That combination creates a rare sense of realness, something that touches her at an emotional level deeper than attraction. Presence turns communication into connection because it engages all the senses. It's not about the words themselves but about the energy they carry. When you speak from presence, every word becomes alive with emotion, and that emotional aliveness is what she remembers. It's what transforms a fleeting moment into something lasting, something she feels long after you've stopped speaking. The balance between mystery and vulnerability is the essence of lasting attraction. Too much mystery, and you seem distant or unreachable. Too much vulnerability, and the connection loses its tension. But when both qualities coexist in harmony, they create a magnetic field of emotional intrigue that keeps a woman's mind engaged and her heart curious. Mystery awakens her imagination, it gives her space to wonder, to dream, to fill in the gaps with her own emotion. Vulnerability, on the other hand, gives her something real to hold onto, a sense of truth, of intimacy, of shared humanity. When a man embodies both, he becomes both fascinating and safe, unpredictable yet emotionally grounded. She feels the thrill of not knowing everything about him, yet the comfort of knowing he is emotionally available. That duality is what keeps her drawn in, unable to let go of the connection even when apart. Mystery is not about playing games or withholding information, it's about revealing yourself gradually, in layers, allowing her to discover your depth over time. It's the pause before a response, the quiet confidence that doesn't rush to fill silence, the subtle smile that suggests there's more to you than what's being said. Mystery creates space for her imagination to participate in the connection. It keeps the energy alive, the story unfinished. Vulnerability, however, is the bridge that makes that mystery meaningful. Without vulnerability, mystery feels cold. Vulnerability brings warmth, honesty, and emotional truth. It's expressed through openness, the willingness to share what you feel, not in an oversharing way, but in a way that shows emotional courage. When a man speaks from that place, he invites her to open too, and what emerges is emotional reciprocity, a shared rhythm of giving and revealing that builds trust and attraction at the same time. The magic happens when these two qualities dance together. Mystery keeps her intrigued, vulnerability keeps her connected. Together, they create the perfect emotional tension, the sense that there's always more to discover, yet always something real anchoring the connection. This is why women are drawn to men who can hold both, the man who doesn't need to tell everything yet never hides behind silence, the man who can express feeling without losing composure, who can let her in just enough to feel special but not enough to end the curiosity. That balance is what makes her think of you when you're gone, what makes her replay your words in her mind, wondering what lies beneath them. Because mystery stimulates her imagination, and vulnerability opens her heart, and when both are present, she doesn't just like you, she feels you.